I know so many of us in our sewing journeys get stuck on the issue of fit, and I bet you've heard the term of a block or a sloper pattern that's made to all your body measurements, and I bet you think, is this the solution for me? Will this solve all of my fit issues? Well, my friends, in today's video, we are going to discuss all of this. Just what is a block pattern, a sloper, how it works, and will it actually solve all of your fit issues? Welcome back, my sewing friends. It is lovely to have you again. If we're just meeting for the very first time, welcome. My name is Evelyn Wood and I'm the creator of VintageSewingSchool.com. And here on this channel, we do everything vintage sewing skills to really help our modern day sewing. So you can really grow and develop your own sewing skills to get the results that you want. And we're talking a lot about fit of late, and I have many more videos coming up. So if you haven't yet subscribed already, do hit that subscribe button so that you can see all of the future videos that I think will really help you out. In a recent video I did of how to choose sewing patterns to actually fit you better straight out of the packet, I'll link that down below. A lot of people commented on that a block or a sloper was the solution and the answer to sort of solving their fit problems. And of course then that came with it a whole bunch of other people asking, is this the solution for me? Is this block sloper, what is it? And is it the solution for me? So I want to give you my perspective on this, give you some information for those of you, what is a block or sloper, how it works in your sewing system, and then what I recommend to my students at Vintage Sewing Schools and the journey that I take them on in this learning to fit patterns to your own body, how to get there. First of all, let me say that there is no one way to do anything. And that's the fun and the hard part of sewing as well, is all of this is really about getting to the end result. So having a garment that fits you, that you've sewn yourself. And there's many different avenues, different ways that you can get there to get that end result. And so there is no one way to do anything in sewing. This is more a bit of information about how and what it all is, and my view and my way that I think gives you the most impact. Because I always like to teach, particularly with pattern making, as home seamstresses, we have limited time and resources to spend on our hobby. And particularly when it comes to pattern making, we all know this is like, it takes long enough as it is. I always teach that you want to learn the least amount, but that amount of learning will give you the most amount of things that you can do, like things that you can apply those teachings to get the most impact in your sewing. That's how I look at it. We always want to learn what small things that you can learn very quickly and easily that will give you the most amount of bang for your buck, so to say. So just what is this sloper, this block pattern? Well, a sloper or a block is the same thing. So I call it a block. That's just what we call it. I think in the US, it's mostly called a sloper. So it is usually a more basic pattern, so a very simple pattern like a shift dress or I was going to say shapeless, sleeveless, just a plain blouse or a plain skirt. So a basic pattern usually that is made to your measurements. And that's the what you would base all of your other designs and all of your other things in. So they use these in design houses, of course. That's their standard block that they start with, and then they pattern draft all of the different styles from that basic block. That's how things usually have the same fit, the same feel along the different things that they create. Makes sense, right? And so a lot of sewing pattern companies actually market this sloper or block pattern as the kind of magic bullet, if you will, the magic pattern that will just solve all of your fit issues by having this pattern. And so there are places you can actually print them out and have them make them for you, or you have their patterns and you learn how to adjust to make your own measurements and put them on there. There's lots of different ways, as I said, lots of different ways to get to the same result. But basically it's a tailored pattern to your body. So I guess the short answer is really like, yes, of course, having a pattern that fits your body is the answer to fit issues. But it's not necessarily like that. And I really kind of want to stress the difference. There's no difference between this certain magic block pattern and using commercial patterns, and they're not necessarily two different things, and the answer that you might be looking for is perhaps a little bit simpler than you think. Not necessarily easy, but a lot simpler than you might think. So what I teach my students is basically how to use commercial patterns to fit and make your own block pattern from one of these. There's a few reasons why, and it's no different than sort of doing it from the companies that teach you how to make blocks or slopers, so to say. It's just a different method, a different system to kind of get to the end result, and I'll explain why we do this. And you might actually already be halfway to making one yourself and you didn't even realize it. So let's first of all say you have this basic block pattern, right? And you've spent, maybe you have it made for you, or you template it out and you've got this basic block. So maybe it's a shift dress or just a little top that's it. Then you need to use that same pattern for everything. So you have to learn how to pattern draft everything from that basic block, right? So if you only have a top like this, but say you want to put, I want a collared fitted shirt, how am I possibly going to make that from my block pattern that looks like this? And I don't know how to make anything else because this was just kind of constructed for me, sort of thing. It's really, you have to then learn the entire world of sort of pattern drafting to be able to then create your different styles on top of it. And I mean, you know, you don't have time to do 3 years of fashion school to learn pattern drafting, right? And even that is not long enough. So the way that I teach my students is to start with a commercial pattern. Let the pattern companies do all the hard work of the designing and the styling and creating the actual stylized design pattern in that style that you like. Let them do all that hard work, and you just learn how to fit and tailor for your own body onto a commercial pattern. Because here's the thing. We all have, our bodies are the same, right? And we all have a standard kind of alterations that we need to make. So you'll find, I promise you'll find that you'll only need to make maybe 2 or 3 standard fit alterations onto any pattern to fit your body. So for example, you'll find on every pattern, if you have narrow shoulders, you'll need to take in the shoulders, maybe let's just say an inch on every pattern. If you're short through the waist, you'll find on every pattern, you just have to shorten the waist, maybe 2.5 centimeters, every pattern. Maybe you're wider in the hips and you just know, so every pattern, no matter what it is, to fit your shape, not size, shape, that you'll need to add 5 centimeters or 2 inches to the hips every single time. And it's the same thing, you need to adjust the hips and the shoulders. It's usually only 2 or 3 things, and you'll find that it's usually the same amounts as well that you need to alter these by. And so once you kind of get that and you have those things written down and you know, it becomes really easy. So learning to then fit a commercial pattern, you create one. So you use these, and you probably only need a few in your sort of personal pattern library, and then everything else builds from there. So if you learn how to do this on one pattern, you can do it to, say, a fitted pant, a loose pant, a fitted blouse and a loose blouse, maybe a 50s style dress. Once you learn how to fit it easy, you understand the principles of pattern making. You understand how all the pieces go together. You understand the stitch line and darts, how they create shape, and you understand matching all the different pattern pieces, and every piece that goes together needs to be adjusted the same. Once you get all of that, doing simple design changes is really easy. So you can change the neckline, you can pivot your dart to different spots, you can change your sleeve and add a nice big bell sleeve on it, because you kind of understand all the way the pattern works already, and making then different style changes is really easy. So then it also means that being able to know, once you have those block patterns yourself, so that becomes your personal block once you spend the time fitting, making trials, adjustments, fit here, fit there, and you create your own pattern then that fits you. That becomes your block. That is your sloper, your block for that sort of particular style, and you can make those easy changes from there. And it also means having those skills that you know every time, add to the hips, shorten the waist. You can pick up any style of pattern and go for something really different and be able to tweak it and fit it to your body. And then you can actually make all these different things that you want to, rather than you're only restricted to maybe something that's extremely similar to that one block pattern that was kind of just drafted because you didn't know how to actually really get there. So I bet you've actually already started doing this to certain patterns. Well, this isn't what you do when you first start sewing. Let me add that in. This is what you do when you're going to the next level. You kind of got your garments, you know, construction and sewing all down pat, and you're going to that next level of fitting. This is that level. I bet you found that you've already started doing this to certain patterns where you've started to tweak and fit it, but just didn't really consider that if a little bit more work and transferring all those fit adjustments to your new pattern, like a new pattern piece, then becomes your personal block. And that's when you start building your personal pattern library. And just going that next step to really consider this, then, you know, your next block, and understanding what you're doing there with the stitch lines and everything. You only need a few of these in different styles, and you pretty much got everything that you want to wear covered. And you'll find that it's just rinse and repeat on every different pattern that you have. So I hope you've already got one half done that you just think, oh my goodness, I didn't realize I was so close to having a block or a sloper that I can then use. Pattern making is a long journey. I definitely warn you on that. It's a never ending journey. There is no end. Like, you always learn something more and how to do something better, how to tweak, and I don't think that the fit and pattern making journey is ever finished. It is just a constant getting better, and it is a fun and exciting journey because it is really fun. I hope this has given you a little insight into realizing that it's not necessarily two separate things. There's sloper, block, and then commercial patterns, and then there's nothing in between, or they're completely different things. It's not. It's just a melding of skills, and you can either start with this or start with this. And it depends on what you want to make. If you want to make lots of different types of styles, like a collared blouse and then a jumpsuit and a jacket, and kind of working with these and figuring out those standard fit adjustments you need to make to pretty much every pattern, and then using those as your blocks and referencing, and that is probably going to be a better solution for you. If you only want to make the one garment over and over and over, it was slightly maybe a different neckline and that's it, then maybe getting one of those blocks is the solution in that basic style, and you don't have to learn too much more pattern making if you don't want to change the style. But if you do, I think you'll see that there is a nice melding of skills, and there is no definitive line, and there is no one way to get to that end result. This is the journey that I take my students on at Vintage Sewing School, in learning how to really understand these and how to use commercial patterns to create your own personal blocks and your own personal library, a pattern library, so that you can really just get the most out of being a home dressmaker and do the least amount of work to get the most amount of impact in your home sewing. If this is really interesting to you and you're ready to take it to the next level and want that help, that guidance, someone to hold your hand through this process, I would definitely invite you to come join me at vintagesewingschool.com. There are links down below. Come and join me. I think you'll really enjoy having all the lessons there. It's 24/7 access. Anytime, you learn at your own pace. It's all there. We have a really great community there as well to help you through all this. So links are down below for that. I have 2 questions for you, my friends. And I think the answers will really help you in this process as well. So one is for the beginners in sewing. What are your questions around this fit sloper block, what we've been talking about today? Leave those below because I might just do a video on what you're asking about. And those a little bit more seasoned, let us know below what has been your process in finding the right fitting garments and being able to learn and fit. Remember to read all those comments, because I think there's always little golden nuggets of sewing, and sharing all of our information together helps us all become better at our sewing. Remember, check the description box below, and until next time, happy sewing, my friends. Bye.